Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Little Bit of Bad Luck as a treat or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by TheWriterD, and you can find the link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by Angela.
Little Bit of Bad Luck as a treat. The car came to a sputtering stop in the middle of nowhere, and all Scylla could do was close her eyes in resignation and press her forehead to the steering wheel. The surface of it was extremely hot thanks to the heat, and though it burned her skin, she was too exhausted to pull away. An entire day of traveling, and now she was stuck an hour out of the city. She was not in the best mood. Tired from having woken very early to get most of her drive done as soon as possible, and hungry because she'd forgotten to buy something on her way out. Just great, Scylla sighed, sitting up and pulling the key from the ignition. She checked her phone for signal and let out a soft breath of relief, but her battery was nearly completely depleted. She quickly dialed the local number for roadside assistance and hurried through explaining where she was and what she needed. Just as the person told her they were sending someone out, her phone died. Scylla exhaled and tossed the phone onto her passenger seat. Could this day get any better? Inside of the car was like sitting in an oven, so she hopped out and went around to lift her boot open. She rooted around in her suitcase for a cap, and then tied her hair up in a short ponytail. Once she had the cap over her head, she sat down on the edge of the open boot, grateful that it gave her a little shade. There was nothing to really do, besides sit there and bake in the sun. After 20 minutes, Scylla was sweating profusely, and decided to pull her t-shirt off so that she was just in her tank top. It was bliss to lift her arms and allow a breeze, though it was a little warm, to cool her off just the slightest. It felt like an entire hour had passed by when a truck finally roared to a stop behind her car. Scylla remained seated, heart shooting in her throat. It was either the person that would fix her car or someone taking an opportunity. Through the darkly tinted windows, she couldn't see who it was and just sat there waiting. The door opened with a loud creak, and then the most attractive woman Scylla had ever seen stepped out, shaking her chin-length, curly blonde hair. She swept her hair back and slid a cap on, and then she grabbed something from her truck and started over. Scylla was definitely very distracted by the sight of her. Her dark eyes, the line of her jaw, and the friendly smile she had on while she approached. She was wearing a button-up that was open, with a shirt underneath. Other than that, she had on stained jeans and heavy-duty boots. She was also sweating just as much, and it helped to make Scylla feel a little less gross. "Scylla Ramshorn?" the woman asked her when she was close enough, holding a hand out. Scylla stood and accepted the shake. The woman's hand was very warm, and her grip was gentle, but from the line of her thumb and wrists and the feel of calluses, she was clearly strong. That, and the line of her shoulders, the hint of muscles at her arms. Scylla swallowed. Suddenly it was unbearably hot. "Yes, that's me," she finally responded. "My name's Rael. Do you know what the problem is?" Scylla walked Rael to the front of her car and popped the bonnet open. Immediately Rael bent over, her eyes roving over every inch of the vehicle's inner workings. To Scylla, everything in there made no sense, and she would never even think about trying to touch something for fear of breaking it or killing herself. Rael had no such fear, and she clearly knew what she was doing. It just stopped working suddenly, made like this weird coughing noise. Rael gave her a little smile. Give me a moment and I'll figure it out." Nodding, Scylla stood by and Rael went to work. She filled around, pulled and prodded, and Scylla was definitely not staring at her. Not at all. 5 minutes in, Rael made a noise of triumph and then bent to the tool bag she had dropped at her feet. She pulled a tool out and straightened, and then she pulled her button-up off, tied it around her waist, and continued fixing. Scylla's mouth popped open in surprise. Rael was far too focused on the repair to even notice, which, well, was a good thing. God, she was absolutely gorgeous. She had a light sheen of sweat over her skin, and she most certainly had incredible shoulders. Scylla let her eyes devour the sight of them. The line of Rael's spine, the column of her throat, her cheekbones and chin. There was a long, faded scar there, and she idly entertained herself with wondering what had caused it. She was so lost in her appreciation for the human form, Rael's human form to be exact, that she didn't notice when Rael noticed, and the little glances she shot her every few minutes. Rael finished faster than she expected and then stood, wiping the back of her hand across her forehead. Damn, it's hot. It should be all good to go now. It was an easy fix. Give her a start. Scylla quickly went to do so, and she sighed in relief when her car started and sounded completely fine. She put it off and climbed out again. That was amazing. You fixed it so quickly. Rael's grin was devastating. That's what I am. A fixer. Scylla pressed her lips together, heart beating hard. She thought about asking her out, but she didn't want to make it awkward for her. She was technically just doing her job after all. Are you, thirsty? Rael suddenly asked her. Scylla nearly swallowed her tongue, forgetting that thirst also meant needing water, and she very clearly made a stupid gay comment. Rael's amused grin told Scylla that she knew exactly why she was flushing so suddenly, and that just made her blush harder. Terribly thirsty. I have some cold water in my truck. I keep it in a cooler when I make runs like this during the day. Want one? Scylla really needed to get home. Her whole schedule had been pushed back by an entire hour, and she had so much work to do before she returned to the office. But hell, how could she say no? Yes, please. I'd appreciate that. Rael dropped the bonnet and collected her things, and then Scylla followed her over to the truck. It was blissfully cool inside, thanks to air conditioning, and Scylla couldn't help but let out a little moan of delight. When she glanced to the side, Rael was giving her an embarrassed look. She grinned. Sorry for the sex noise. It just feels good to be out of the heat. Rael visibly swallowed. Yeah, no, of course. The water? She held a bottle out, dripping with icy water. Scylla accepted it, her fingers curling too far and covering Rael's as well. She made sure to slide their fingers together as she pulled the bottle away, and a little jolt ran through her heart at the dark look Rael sent her after. She knew what she was doing. Good. They sat there, drinking their cold water, enjoying the cool air, and Scylla couldn't tear her eyes away from Rael's gorgeous face. And those eyes. If her habit of keeping intense eye contact was making Rael uncomfortable, she didn't say so. They traded very casual conversation, and when they were done, Rael walked her back to her car. Scylla really didn't want to go. She considered trying to make up some fake issues to keep Rael there longer. As if reading her thoughts, Rael held something out to her. Here, she said, smiling shyly. My card. It has my number, if you ever need help with your car again. Her eyes gave Scylla a once-over, leaving absolutely no doubt to her thoughts. Or literally anything else. Scylla took the card, and this time Rael's thumb covered hers and stroked the skin there. A shiver raced down her spine. Thanks. I'll keep that in mind. Glad I could help you, Scylla. Safe travels. Rael pulled away, gave her a cute two-fingered salute, and then strode back over to her truck. Scylla climbed into her car and started it, but stared at the card for a while. She decided that once she got home, her fridge would mysteriously stop working, and then, she would find a leak in her main bathroom, and who knew what else would suddenly go wrong. Bad luck, right? Scylla grinned.
Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own, and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.